My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor servicing South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And the best way I can help you do that today is to kind of give you a checklist of what it looks like when you're getting your home ready to go onto the market. There's a lot of nuances, and there's a lot of stuff that you do, and then there's a lot of stuff I do behind the scenes. I'm going to be going over what it is you can do to get your home ready for the market. So we'll jump into that in just a minute. Before we get started though, do make sure you give me one of these. It does really help. Really does help other people to find this content. Make sure you subscribe as well to make sure you're receiving more content like this in the future that's going to be of use to you. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's video talking about what it is that you need to do in order to get your home ready to be on the market. Now, the first thing you need to do when we're getting your home ready to be on the market is to really sit down and figure out your timeline. Now, this is really important because it really establishes the intensity with which we have to pursue it. If we are wanting to be in Oklahoma like 2 months from now, we have got to have an insane level of intensity in how we go about doing things. We're talking about, the next 6 months to a year, different level of intensity, so, we can act accordingly. But as far as timeline goes, one really important thing to realize is that on average, it takes about 45 to 60 days to actually get a home sold, like recorded, belongs to somebody else, after it gets under contract. So I know in the lower 48, it's pretty customary. You can close a property within 30 days. Not so in Alaska. It usually takes about 45, 60, and lately I've actually seen it take closer to 60, 75 days. So while we're talking about timeline, just make sure you have that expectation in mind. The second thing that we need to do in order to make sure that we're preparing you to be on the market and to really excel is to set the expectations for how much you can expect to get for the property based off of the net sheet. Now, the net sheet is going to be a very basic estimate for what you can expect to walk away from after paying all the customary expenses that go along with selling a house. And this is something I sit down with you and really go over, okay, this is customary cost for this is customary cost for this, and really kind of break it down and give you a good general idea for what you can expect to walk away with. So that's number two. The third thing, and this is more geared towards you and what you can do. The third thing that you can do as you're getting your home ready to go onto the market is make sure you assemble all of your invoices and any reports from inspections or anything like that that you've had done within the past couple of years on the property. So this is really helpful if you have stuff that's been done on the HVAC system, for instance. Sometimes you can actually have the invoice and the report from 6 months ago and actually just give that to the buyer when they request it, request you to go do a new one. Sometimes they'll just accept that and we'll be able to keep moving forward. So make sure you assemble all of your invoices, all the reports for work that you've had done on the property, and this is going to be of advantage to you later, believe me. Fourth thing that you can do to really help yourself out here is to fill out the bill of sale, and this is paramount, make sure you fill out the property disclosure, okay? Filling out the property disclosure, I've talked about this before, but this is the number one way that you can actually protect yourself from lawsuits later on down the road. It is built not to be a nuisance or something that's just gonna slow you down unnecessarily. This is the state giving you an enormous gift and saying, hey, fill this form out, tell us everything you know about the property, and this is going to be your best legal protection against frivolous lawsuits in the future. Another thing I wanted to point out, I've seen some people lately that have been filling out the waiver of disclosure and trying to pass that off as offering any kind of protection. Now, this boggles my mind that some people think that this is a good idea. And the reason for that, well, let me just explain. I recently sold a property. I was representing the buyer. The buyer was actually an attorney, and we saw the waiver of disclosure on there, and the seller apparently just decided they were going to be slick and have the waiver of disclosure instead of the actual disclosure on there. We both took one look at that. We're like, sure, okay, we'll give you that. And the reason for that is this: waiver of disclosure is not the same thing as waiver of liability. Okay, big difference. The waiver of disclosure is only there for really investors who are out of state who've never seen the property, foreclosed properties. Those are really what it's for. It's not for sellers who are, I'm just going to say it, who are being lazy. Okay, you really need to take that seriously and give as much detail as you can, because the way this works is later on, even if you fill out the little waiver of disclosure, we find something you should have known about, that you should have disclosed, you're still on the hook for it. As a matter of fact, you're still on the hook for 50 years after it's been discovered, okay? So make sure you do yourself a big favor, disclose everything that you possibly know, okay? I feel like I've beaten this to death now. Let's continue on. The fifth thing that you want to do is really make sure you stage your home the way it needs to be in order to give it its best day in court. So I talk about this in more detail in other videos, but really the big thing you need to focus on when you are staging a property is make sure that it feels open and make sure that it feels really decluttered, okay? If I'm having to step over stuff as I'm showing the property, you've already lost, okay? You're asking the buyer to do a lot of acrobats in their imagination and trying to picture themselves here if they're literally having to step all over your stuff and all the clutter that's all over the place, okay? So declutter, get things off the counter, make it feel really wide open and as clean as possible, and that's going to do wonders for you when it comes to getting the property on the market. Let's take a quick break here. For those of you who have been watching the channel for a while, you do know that I have a relocation guide I offer to buyers as they're coming up here. I actually also have a seller guide for those of you who are currently living in Alaska and considering selling your home. If this is something that would be a benefit to you, it goes into a lot more detail of what we're discussing here. Do make sure that you reach out to me through my website. Link for that is going to be in the description section down below and in the little comment section. Just make sure you say seller guide so I know what to send you. So make sure to do that, and let's go and finish today's video. The sixth thing that you can do to really get yourself ready for success when you're getting your home on the market is if you have a well and septic, it is time to learn as much as you can about that system. If it hasn't been pumped in the past couple of years, probably a good idea to go ahead and do that now. At the very minimum, you need to know where the pipes are for when the engineer goes out there to perform an evaluation and inspection of the septic tank and the well for that matter too, if you have it. So a big thing you need to be aware of is a lot of people in Alaska, they get a septic tank and they just cut the pipes off right down to the ground. If that is you, you need to find where it is quick, because it's not the engineer's job to go on an Easter egg hunt around your yard trying to find it, okay? They're just gonna go out there, get annoyed, take off, tell you to find it, and they're not coming back till you do. So make sure you have those identified, and especially if this is going to be during the winter time. If it's during the winter time, make sure you've got little flags already set out there so you know exactly where it's at before the snow flies. The seventh thing you can do, and this really is optional, but the seventh thing you can do is have a home inspection done before it even goes on the market. This is called a pre-listing inspection, and what it does is it really just kind of goes through the property. You can see exactly what's going to have to be done, and you could actually start knocking some of those things out preemptively. Now, that's not to say that we get further down the line and the buyers aren't going to want to have their own inspection. Sometimes they're okay with what we did though, but it does let you know exactly what it is that you're looking at, okay? So way less stress for you during the due diligence period. Now, by the time you've done all of this, it is time for the photos. Now, by the time that we are taking photos, okay, and this really kind of goes back to the timeline. By the time we're taking photos, essentially we're ready to go live on the market. That's kind of the mindset you have to have as we're taking photos. So make sure that the property is clean, it is landscaped, it has got as much light coming in as possible. We've got all of our documents squared away, and we've got all of our invoices together. We know where the well and septic is at, if that's applicable, and we're making sure we've got all of our back of house stuff taken care of as well by this point, just because we're going to be coordinating with each other very closely. So this is just kind of a very, very basic kind of checklist of things that you can do to get your property ready to go onto the market. It is definitely not exhaustive and doesn't go into too much detail. So if you need more, do feel free to reach out to me through my Facebook page, Instagram, email, whatever's going to be more comfortable for you, in the description section down below where you can find that stuff. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.